Alright, today we're going to talk about special right triangles. And what I mean by special right triangles is there's two types of triangles where you can find the exact length on the side lengths based on rules. The first one is called a 45, 45, 90 right triangle. So what that refers to is the angles inside the triangle. You have two 45-degree angles and one 90-degree angle. And in this triangle, you have two legs, just like every right triangle. Okay, there's a leg. Here's a leg. And what we see about this is because the base angles are the same, that means these sides are going to be congruent. So we know that legs will always equal legs. That's the rule. Okay. The hypotenuse, this piece over here, that is opposite the right angle, is always the same leg times the square root of 2. So the same leg times the square root of 2. Okay, so let's go ahead and do a couple of examples. So when you do your homework, you got to obviously look to see which type of triangle you have, because there's going to be two types. All of these cases will be 45, 45, 90. So let's take a look. All right, so first we figured out the triangle is 45, 45, 90. Then we figure out what do they give me. And that right there is a leg. Okay, so then we have to find the other leg. The other leg is here. And like it says in our rule, legs are congruent. So that means that x would also be 8. Okay, the hypotenuse, according to my rule, is the leg times the square root of 2. Well, if you look at my legs are 8 times the square root of 2. So my answer would be 8 square root of 2. And you would leave it like that unless they ask you to put it in decimal form. If they tell you to put it in decimal form, then you would obviously put it in decimal form. Okay, same thing for number 2. We identified it's a 45, 45, 90 right triangle. Then we need to identify what do they give me. So they give me a leg again. So we find the other leg. The other leg is y up here. So that's also going to be 25. Okay. And again, the hypotenuse, according to my rule, is the leg times the square root of 2. Well, the leg again is 25. And then we got times the square root of 2. So my answer would be 25 square root 2 for x. All right. On the last one, again, it's a 45, 45, 90 right triangle. But this time they give me the hypotenuse because I know that because it's opposite this right angle. And according to my rule, we know that the hypotenuse is equal to the leg times the square root of 2. Okay, so when we're solving this, we would have to divide by the square root of 2 on both sides. And you get 19 square root of 2 would equal my leg. Okay, and that's fine and dandy, but there's one problem. You can't have a denominator that is a square root. So we have to do this concept called rationalize. And when we do that, we got to multiply by the square root of 2 over the square root of 2. And what happens is these two numbers just go side by side. And on the bottom down here, this denominator, when you multiply that, what you're really doing is square root of 2 times square root of 2, which is square root of 4. And the square root of 4 happens to just be 2. So what happens is basically you are dropping the square root. And because of that, there's your answer for both x and y, because they're both legs. Okay, the other special right triangle is called a 30, 60, 90 right triangle. And there are three things. You have the shorter leg, and the shorter leg will always be opposite the smallest angle. Well, our smallest angle in this triangle is at 30 degrees. So this is my short leg. So my short leg is just the short. Okay. And you have your longer leg, which is always opposite the 60-degree angle. Okay. And the rule for that one is it's going to be your short leg times the square root of 3. So the rule again is your short leg times the square root of 3. The hypotenuse, that angle right there, okay, is always 2 times the short leg. 2 times your short leg. Okay. Let's go ahead and do some examples. So again, identify your triangle, we already have. Then identify what they give me. In this case, they give me the side that is opposite the 30-degree angle. Okay, so that means that this is my short leg. Okay, so to find the longer leg, which is opposite the 60-degree angle, according to my rule, is the short leg times the square root of 3. Well, my short leg is 5 times the square root of 3. So that means that x would be 5 square root of 3. The hypotenuse, which is the one opposite my y, is 2 times my short leg. Well, again, my short leg is 5, okay, which means that my y would be 10 units. Same thing on this bottom one, on this next one. Okay, so find what we have. Again, they give me this time the short leg. Okay, so my longer leg, which is going to be opposite my 60-degree angle, which is here, okay, is always the short leg times the square root of 3. So in this case, it is going to be 14 times the square root of 3. So my y would be 14 square root of 3. The hypotenuse, according to my rule, is always 2 times the short leg. Well, 2 times the short leg would be 14. So 2 times 14 gives me an x of 28. Okay, same thing in the last one. This time, what we notice, they give me the hypotenuse. According to that, the hypotenuse is always equal to 2 times the short. Okay, so to solve it, we have to divide by 2. So we get that the short leg is equal to 16. So which one's the short? And it's opposite the 30. So my short leg would be x in this case, so x is going to be 16. My longer leg, again, the rule is the short leg, which again, we just found out is 16 times the square root of 3. So that means that y is 16 square root of 3.